listening to the Starzology Astrology podcast. I am your host, Alison Price, and I'm joined again with my co-host, Arwynne O'Neill. Arwynne, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Alison. It's great to be here.
So this time we're going to be talking about Venus retrograde. This happens 5 times in 8 years, so it doesn't come along every time. You don't get a Venus retrograde every year, but we do have one this year in 2023, and we're going to have a closer look at that.
Yes, that sounds excellent.
So first of all, let's just have a quick look at what does Venus represent in a chart?
Oh, absolutely. Venus is the goddess of love, starters. She is the goddess of beauty, love, charm. She rules your appearance, your allure as a woman, to be sexist in the, old school astrology definitions. Mars is the male and Venus is the female, but it could be anyone's just sexual allure or attractiveness, what makes you attractive to whomever you choose to be attractive to. So Venus is about relationships as well. It's about how you are in relationships, how you attract people, whether they're a partner or friends even.
Yes.
It's about how you present yourself that makes others want to talk to you,
Nice.
Yeah, it's not the Mars energy, which is about how you go after what you want or who you want. It's about how you draw or attract attention to yourself.
It's interesting. So what are we saying? That Venus is actually working 24/7 in the background, and you're attracting in the nature of your Venus then, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this year, Venus is going to retrograde. I'm going to give you some dates now. It's going to retrograde from July the 23rd to September the 4th. That's 2023. And it's going to be in Leo when it does this, from 28 Leo back to 12 Leo.
Yeah. So the whole time in Leo, which is interesting because that means like an extra long stay in Leo for Venus. And usually it's just a few weeks kind of thing.
And
now
it's going to be extended.
Quite protracted stay in Leo, which is really interesting because Venus and Leo, like I just think of like not Zsa Zsa Gabor, like Zsa Zsa Gabor, or like one of these like
Marilyn,
screen goddesses of the 30s and the big like burlesque thing, big headdresses,
it's Las Vegas,
Venus and Leo, showgirls,
showgirls,
totally,
interesting.
It's not a quiet and retiring Venus that waits to be approached. It's it's Mae West.
yes.
Yeah.
So this is interesting that Venus will be retrograde fully in the sign of Leo.
Yeah.
And do you have anything in Leo between 12 degrees and 28 degrees of Leo?
Well, only my midheaven.
Only your midheaven.
No planets in Leo, but that midheaven, the cusp of the 10th house. Only my face to the world.
There you go. So what we're saying then is that Venus is going to cross over your midheaven 3 times. The first time going direct. Then it will retrograde during its retrograde period back over your midheaven.
Yeah.
And then once more again station direct and turn around and come back for a third pass over your midheaven, giving the final push to what it's bringing for you.
Yeah, I'm picturing like the old-fashioned like riding lawnmower, or like when you're vacuuming and you go over once and you go over again and you go over again, you back and forth, and just make sure you get every little.
You're going to squeeze everything out of this Venus. Because, normally Venus would cross over your midheaven once a year. It would zoom through Leo and on its way.
One day and then boom.
Yeah. But this time it's actually happening in Leo. And interestingly, because it's happening in crossing over your midheaven, that's why we thought we'd discuss it this week, or this period as well, in this episode rather. And also because Venus doesn't retrograde very often.
Yeah.
Although it's one of the inner planets, and this is technically a transit episode, it's interesting when Venus does retrograde.
For sure, absolutely. There's some interesting sort of mythological, astronomical tie-ins with this. And we can post a link to this really great animated GIF in the show notes here. But it's to do with the journey of Inanna, the goddess, into the underworld.
Right.
And the stations of Venus retrograde have to do with like her shedding a garment at each of these stations on the way to the underworld, because you can't enter the underworld with all of your accoutrements. So she had to like shed the gear on the way to the underworld so that she was metaphorically and in all ways as a goddess naked when she arrived in the underworld, so that then she could pick up her garments on the way out and not be trapped in the underworld because she's on a mission.
Interesting.
Most people can't go to the underworld and come back, but
no, she can apparently.
Yeah. So,
I see.
Yeah, so that's just this neat metaphorical thing, and also if you look at the actual animated pattern that it makes, and this is actually an astronomical phenomenon, the pattern that the planet Venus traces as it does this whole retrograde motion is, I have no other word, but it's lovely. It's a lovely, beautiful pattern that it traces in the sky that is established in this wonderful animated GIF, which I did not create. Full disclosure, but found. Yeah, we will link to it. It's wonderful. Yeah, it's like one of those spirograph things that you played with as a kid. Like it's lovely.
So this is so interesting because it's showing the Venus retrogrades 5 times. Over an 8-year period, and that's why Venus rules the number 5, and builds up from there, 5, 10s, 15s, and also that it's ruling all 5-petaled flowers, such as the roses. They are 5-petaled. So the interesting thing as well, seeing as I'm on numbers and can't beat a couple of numbers, that the 5-8 pattern is part of the Fibonacci cycle. So it's actually a natural build into there.
Which obviously it's one of the most beautiful and trippy patterns. I mean, artichokes and all these
pineapples,
pine cones, all these wonderful patterns in nature. It's and Venus is tied to these wonderful, beautiful patterns that nature just
That's right. It's a natural beauty pattern that when we see it, it feels very...
It resonates with us. We're like, wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so this goes onto the golden triangle. This is where these numbers unfold from. And what are we saying then? That Venus is in charge of that? Well, probably.
Yeah.
But I've always found it interesting to look into the Fibonacci aspects as well.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, Arwynne, perhaps we can have a little further discussion about Venus retrograde.
Absolutely. So, this happens approximately every 18 months and lasts for around 6 weeks when it happens, 5 to 6 weeks. So, during this period, the Venus energies that we are used to undergo a sort of shift. And so, here are some things that you can use this energy for in your life, regardless of where your Venus is or what is in your chart. So, obviously, Venus rules relationships. So reassessing relationships. You may have like an ex who comes back into the picture, or you could just make some changes to the way you think about your relationships in the past, rehashing these things in your own mind to sort of come forward with a better way of framing it for yourself. Thinking about your past loves and your patterns in relationships and sort of putting that in order. So that's one kind of a self-care sort of approach. Venus also rules finances. So thinking about your money situation, your possessions, maybe going through your closet and weeding out things that you no longer wear, and kind of doing a reassessment of your possessions and kind of a cleaning out or I hesitate to, Marie Kondo, the whole minimalism thing. It's not really me. I'm not a minimalist by any stretch. I admire it, but obviously, this is very resonant with some people, and it's a great goal, especially like we live in Vancouver, you and I, and obviously we all have very tiny little abodes here. It's a small kind of apartment living. Vancouver-sized is actually a phrase that's used for like these tiny little couches and tiny little versions of furniture here that fit into our small boxes. So kind of going through your stuff and weeding it out is never a bad thing, but this could be a really great way of using the energy of Venus retrograde.
Yes.
Self-reflection, self-care, going through a new beauty regime, or
chucking out that old mascara.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Do you know, this is such a Virgo thing, but like every time I buy a mascara, because I know myself, I know I will forget when I bought it. I will literally I'll stick a little sticker at the bottom of it and write the month and the year that I bought it. It sounds so psycho when I say it out loud, but it's really important. And
Yes.
I literally checked. I'm not even going to say exactly how old, but the mascara that I'm currently using is definitely due for a replacement.
Okay, so maybe at this Venus retrograde.
Yeah, everyone
that
check your
having,
mascara. Yeah.
We'll be checking out all our old makeup.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, what's better about that than like the opportunity to buy new makeup?
Exactly.
That's really what it comes down to. But yeah, so reassessing some finances, some self-care regimes, just doing some self-reflection about your relationships, and also, last but not least, creative pursuits. So,
yes.
And this is wonderful because the retrograde it gives you an opportunity to not necessarily start new things, but to reassess the value, another Venus buzzword,
yes.
of anything that you've done in the past and reframing it. So if you have a portfolio of artwork, or if you have like a resume that needs polishing up, and you can now reframe things that you've done in the past in a more beautiful, better presented sort of way, this is the time to do it.
This is great.
Yeah.
Okay, Arwynne, so as Venus is going through Leo and actually doing this monster retrograde that it's doing, I have to ask, do you have any planets in Leo?
No planets in Leo, but my midheaven is at 12:30 Leo.
Right.
Yeah, and Venus will be parked there and
it will
running back and forth.
So actually, it's going to you're going to get a 3-hit.
Yeah.
From Venus. You'll have the first pass. So normally with the retrograde cycle, when there's 3 passes, the first pass opens the situation up, and then suddenly you're aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
And then when you get the second pass, which is typically the retrograde period, that's when you're still working on it, but you still don't have all the facts. So nothing can be finalized at this stage, but new information may come your way. And then as it comes back for the third time and the third pass, as it clears the orb of that third pass, that's now the situation that now has changed. And that's what we've got moving forward.
Yeah.
So typically that would be how a retrograde cycle would unfold. But I notice with this particular Venus retrograde, it's going to pass over your midheaven at 12 Leo, and then go forward, do the station retrograde, come back, and then it's going to station on your midheaven.
Yeah. Hello.
So don't panic. So what this means is we would have to check our dates, but it's probably going to be definitely lingering there for at least a week.
Yeah.
Stimulating or I like to say burning a hole in the zodiac at 12 degrees Leo. And so we can anticipate that second or third pass is all going down at the same time at that point, because you've got the first one and then this station.
Yeah.
So we could perhaps anticipate some Venus midheaven related unfoldments within your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is there anything, let me ask you then, is there anything that you would like to, how would you like to see this energy unfolding? What would you like to get behind?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, as an artist and a writer, I do have creative pursuits, and I do need motivation. I mean, as a Virgo, I don't have like this inherent fiery chart. I have one planet in a fire sign, and that's Neptune. So it's like, what? No fire? No. Yeah, so any kind of like external stimuli that comes along and like kind of quote unquote forces or motivates or lights a fire or burns a hole, as you say, in that area of my chart, any area that I'm happy to have that.
So the midheaven represents in general your career and your reputation and what you're known for in the world.
Yeah.
So perhaps there's going to be some focus on that. You could perhaps develop something in that area, something to do with art or to do with finances or to do with creativity, and put it out there, because once Venus has done that final station direct, it will then spend another month lighting up your 10th house.
Yeah.
Just reinforcing what it all just did on that midheaven.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting thing, and I do hope that you've got these dates in your diary, because it's coming your way.
Absolutely. And this is it's one of the great things about astrology as well, is just the ability to know this ahead of time and to focus on those areas. Not to think, oh, this is looming, this is coming. I mean, obviously we're talking about Venus. It's not like a malefic planet, but this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity where some area of your life is going to be spotlighted, And it's a chance to sort of go, oh, I could do something with this.
Something beautiful and something
beautiful.
of value can be brought forward in your life. And probably we're going to see it because it's on that midheaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Exactly. And what about you, my dear? You've got some things in Leo, I know.
I do. Well, Venus is going over a particular area of Leo from 12 to 28. And in that area, I have the sun, which is, of course, it's a powerhouse. It's the sun in Leo in the first house. It's what you see. It's who I am. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have a 3 Venus conjunction to my sun. It will cross over going forward. And then it was going to station and come back again for the retrograde and then go forward again. And when as an astrologer, as I look forward to this in my transit list, I'm thinking, ooh, how can I position myself to take advantage of this energy that's coming through? Because I think it can be a delicate energy as well. And if it's not going to shove you into a corner. But because it's first house, I actually am anticipating that I'm probably going to do something with my hair. I know that for sure because it's been driving me crazy. I'm not quite sure what, but it's to do with appearance and just soften the whole thing up. Probably spruce up my wardrobe as well. It's one of those things everything looks a little sad after a while, and I probably will be looking into fixing that too. So this is how I am anticipating this transit to unfold.
Awesome.
Do you have any further thoughts on that?
Obviously, the first house, and you just happen to have the sun in the first house. And anyone who has Leo rising or sun in Leo, definitely that's a great opportunity to make over
and soften it up and not be so pushy. So hopefully that will be a chance for me to represent myself because your first house is how you are when you meet people face to face, whereas in your case it's your 10th house. That's what the public knows of you. Yeah. So
and we're saying that because I've got Leo on the midheaven, which is just obviously gonna, I've got the I've got the big hair,
they will know your name, yes.
Right,
yes.
And with Scorpio rising, that tends to be a little more introverted, whatever. I mean, it's certainly obvious, but that Leo midheaven is what people see. Yes. And, if they had to describe me, they wouldn't say I look like a Scorpio. No. They would say, she's got this big giant hair and this big shining smile, and she wears bright clothes.
Exactly, and she's got pink rollerblades and whatnot. Yeah. So, this is how I anticipate this unfolding. I'm not worried about it. I think it's going to be a way for me to, I don't know, just sort my wardrobe out. It's become a little weary and tired, and I'm a bit weary and tired of it too. So that would be one way to look at it. And also perhaps bring in some self-care and in that way, maybe pay a little bit more close attention to my diet perhaps, or something like that.
And I mean, might I say, I've already mentioned this, but this dress that we're rocking today, this wonderful, it's a black sundress, and it's got, as you point out, pockets. It's fabulous. It's a really good start.
Well, thank you so much. So so that's a great thing. Okay. So Arwynne, let's just have some consideration about, for our listeners, where the Leo is in their chart, and as Venus comes through for this extended stay of imparting its beautiful energy, what can people anticipate in general, would you say?
Right. Well, obviously you want to look at where Leo is in your chart. You might have Sun in Leo, or you might have Leo rising. The baby boomers have Pluto in Leo.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So obviously everybody has Leo somewhere in their chart, but you may not have any planets there.
That's right.
But it's still going to be a house, going through a house. So either way, this is definitely going to be affecting some part of your life. So look at your chart, and if it's moving through, let's say, your 7th house, that's the relationship house. Ooh, Venus retrograde, spending 5 weeks or so in your 7th house, awesome. If it's going through your 10th house, like it is with mine, that's career, that's your face to the world. That's an amazing opportunity to spruce up your resume or create some sort of new portfolio, or rehash some existing artwork and present it in a new and exciting way, or make over your apartment, something like this. Obviously, 4th house, I mean, that's the home, maybe a bit of a home makeover.
Get rid of the clutter.
Right, exactly. Declutter and just get some new coasters or, whatever. Yes. This is just a guideline, but this is to say that it's affecting everybody in a slightly different way.
So it will affect everyone. That's the point, isn't it, of this Venus retrograde. And I do think that it's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing.
It's a wonderful thing.
And I think if you're not paying attention, it can pass you by.
Yeah. It's not like Saturn return. It's not like this is like a big, massive, like machete that's going to be coming down on you no matter what. You could just blink and you miss it or not even notice this. But it's a great opportunity, if you know it's coming, to focus on an area of your life that is getting not even like a spotlight, but like a soft focused glow now, because it's Venus. It's not a harsh, like glaring spotlight that's like pointing out all the flaws. It's like, it's an opportunity to beautify and to
enhance.
Enhance in a wonderful way any area of your life that it's touching.
That's great. So I do think that the trick with this one, this transit, is to be aware of it, know where Venus is going to retrograde in your chart, and just bring some focus to that so you don't miss this good energy that's coming your way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, Arwynne, even though Venus is retrograding in Leo this year, it will actually affect other signs as well. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. So it is going retrograde at 28 degrees Leo, and it will turn back at 12 degrees Leo. Yeah. So if you have anything at 28 or 12 degrees Leo or Aquarius or Taurus or Scorpio, which of course are the signs in opposition and square to Leo.
Right.
Those are degrees to look at. So if you have anything in 28 or 12 degrees of any of those four signs, this will be hitting
station.
Stationing directly over those actual degrees.
That's right.
Yeah.
But too, if you have planets between 12 and 28 of those signs, you will get a triple hit transit from Venus.
Exactly.
So that would be the Aquarians would get the opposition.
Yeah.
And then Taurus and Scorpio will get squares from Venus. So I would assume that the squares from Venus to the Scorpio would be more challenging than the squares to Taurus, because Venus rules Taurus.
Yeah.
Do you have any planets between 12 and 28 of Taurus, Scorpio, or Aquarius?
No.
No, it seems not.
Just my midheaven. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're getting the full force of that.
Yeah.
So there are different areas in the chart that you can look. It's not just going to affect people with planets in Leo.
Yeah.
I too, I've got nothing in Taurus and I've got nothing in Aquarius, but I do have something in Scorpio, Jupiter. Yeah, Jupiter's in Scorpio, and that would then receive a square from Venus.
Oh, Venus square Jupiter. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, well, how bad can it get?
That's like a retrograde with like a feather duster.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
Like you'll get a harsh dusting with the feather duster. My goodness.
Yeah, so that's not really going to be the thing that I'm going to be looking at, to be honest. I'm really going to be paying more attention to it going through my first house and triggering the sun in some hopefully beautiful way.
Absolutely.
Well, let's look on the positive side. Why wouldn't we? It's Venus.
It's Venus, exactly.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Good. So many people will have opportunities to benefit from the Venus retrograde and to reassess their love life and their finances, which is always a good thing.
Exactly.
I think.
And like I was thinking, this is happening in September, early September, and this is back to school shopping?
Yeah.
The
end of summertime,
End of summer, everybody refreshes their wardrobe at the beginning of the season, and
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay, Arwynne, so this has been a super interesting discussion about Venus retrograde in Leo during 2023. Again, that's going to be from July the 23rd to September the 4th. So it's quite a long period, and it doesn't happen often, but when it does, we really want to celebrate it, I believe.
Absolutely.
That's why we're discussing it today. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Well, Arwynne, thank you so much for coming along again and sharing your insights about Venus retrograde in Leo. It's been really interesting. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Alison. This has been great.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.